Friends, today we are going to start our next topic, that is study of animal tissues, plus one class biology. So as we know, tissue is made up of cell, and cell is made up of molecules, and molecules are made up of atoms. So in this slide we can see that atom combine to form molecule, and molecule combine to form a cellular structure, and these cellular structure get combined to form tissue and further organ, and organ system is there, and different organ system combine to form an organism. So a cell is the structural and functional unit of life, and cell is made up of protoplasm, and cell is surrounded by a membrane known as plasma membrane. At the center of the cell there is a spherical nucleus is present, and this cell contain different organelles, means each cell has endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, Golgi body, centriole. So there are two type of cells in our human body, that is one is somatic cell and other is germ cell. So somatic cell are the general body cells present all over the body, and germ cells are specifically they are the sex cells, means the sex sperm cell in human male, and ovum or egg in human female. So now tissue is the group of similar cell, and tissue perform a similar function, and different group of cells get combined to form different types of tissue system also in our body, and they perform different type of function in our body. That is sometime they help in protection of our body, or some tissues will help just for secretion activity or managing our body activities. So all the organs are and all the organ systems are mainly composed of tissues, different types of tissues. And the branch of biology, or the branch of science that deals with the study of tissue, is known as histology. Now there are four type of tissue, as we can see in the slide. Epithelial tissue are the covering tissues, and they are present for protection. Connective tissues are the tissues that help in binding, and muscular tissues are the tissues that help in movement and locomotion, and nervous tissues help in conduction of nerve impulses, the message from sensory neuron, or the senses from brain towards brain, and from brain towards the effective organ, mainly take place with the help of these neuron. Now we start with epithelial tissue. So epithelial tissue is mainly present on the outer surface of all organ of a body, and also the lining lines the cavity of all hollow organs of the body. So cells are arranged in one or more layer. Cells are compactly arranged. There is no or very little intercellular space between these cells, and cells may be originate from outer layer, that is ectoderm, from the middle layer mesoderm, and the inner layer, that is endoderm. So cells are non-vascular, means epithelial tissue does not have their own blood supply, and these cells get their nourishment from blood capillaries, so underlying in the connective tissues. So next is epithelial tissue is of two types, simple and compound. Simple epithelial tissues are further categorized into 6 categories: simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar cell, simple glandular cell, sensory cell, and germinal cells. And compound cells are of two compound tissues are of two types, stratified and transitional. So simple squamous epithelium, it is originated mainly found in the peritoneum of xylem, and it is also found in the surface of skin. So as we know, it is present on the surface of skin, so the main function is of protection of skin from microorganisms and foreign particles. Simple cuboidal epithelium cell, as the name indicate, this cell are of cube shape, and they are mainly present in thyroid gland and kidney, and their function is for absorption and secretion. Next is simple columnar epithelium cells. These are the column cells. They are present on the inner lining of stomach, intestine, and other internal organ. The cells are tall, pillar-like, free, and next is ciliated columnar cells. These are the column-like cells, and they are mainly present in upper respiratory tract or fallopian tube, and their function is for you can say the vibratory movements are associated with these ciliated columnar epithelium cells. Then simple glandular cells, as the name indicate, they help in the secretion of various types of enzymes, hormones, sweat, and oil. So example of glandular cells are endocrine and exocrine. So endocrine glands, these glands pour secretion directly into the bloodstream. Such glands lack duct and thus they are called as ductless gland. Example is pituitary gland, thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. Now exocrine glands, these glands are with the duct and the secretion is carried out by the means of duct or tube. And example of these exocrine glands are tear glands, salivary glands. Next, compound epithelium. Compound epithelium are of two types, stratified and transitional epithelium. Next is connective tissue. As the name indicate, connective tissue connect the different body parts or different body organs, and they serve as the purpose for connecting the different, you can say, structure of the body also. They originate from mesodermal layer, that is middle layer of the embryo, and the structure of connective tissue is as follow. Connective tissue mainly consists of different shape of cells, and it has a matrix as a ground substance, and this connective tissue help in you can say diffusion of food particle, water, gases and waste. So connective tissues are further mainly three category: connective tissue proper, fluid connective tissue and skeletal tissue. Connective tissue proper contain areolar tissue, adipose tissue, white fibrous tissue, yellow elastic and reticular. And fluid connective tissue is further having example of blood. And skeletal tissue, skeletal connective tissue is cartilage and bone. So this is the slide in which we can see all type of connective tissue in the single slide. So this is the magnified view of our forearm. In this we can see the adipose tissue that contain the fat droplet, the cartilage cells and the bone cells, and the blood contain RBC, WBC and different type of platelets also. And loose connective tissue here we can see, and fibrous connective tissue. In this single slide we can see the different type of connective tissue. Now connective tissue proper, so it is found below the skin and muscles and bone, and this functions as for, you can say, connective in the function, and it fixes the skin with the muscles, attaches the blood vessels. So main function is it fixes the skin with the muscles and attaches the blood vessels. So next is connective tissue proper. So it is a transparent jelly like sticky matrix substance, and they are mainly yellow and white type. So white fibers are unbranched, and it also contain collagen fibers, and these collagen fiber give tensile strength to the tissue. Next is yellow fiber. They are thin, slender and singly arranged. These are flexible, elastic and branched. Next is adipose connective tissue. The adipose connective tissue is found in subcutaneous tissue area under the skin, and it also forms the yellow bone marrow. The function of this adipose connective tissue is, adipose tissue is mainly you can say function as a food reserve, means it help in the storage of fat. So the subcutaneous fat help in you can say prevent the heat loss from the body. So this is the main function, and it also help just like a function like a shock absorber cushion. Next is white fibrous tissue. White fibrous tissue is mainly rich in white collagen fiber. These are similar to B but thicker than that of areolar tissue, means these are thicker. And tendons connect the skeletal muscle with the bone, and you can say tendons are different types present in our body. They are of different types. Some of the example of tendons are Achilles tendon and hamstring tendons. We can see here in this slide also. Next is yellow elastic tissue. Yellow elastic tissue mainly contain yellow elastic fiber, and yellow elastic tissue example is ligament, and ligament help in binding the bones, and bones means they connect the two different bones. So ligaments, they are formed of bundle of yellow fibers. They bind two different bones at the joints, and they help in preventing the dislocation of bones at the same time, and also provide the flexibility also. Next is reticular tissue. Reticular tissue refer to the star-shaped reticular cells, and they form the network. We can see in this slide they form the network, and the network is formed of a protein known as reticulin. Next is cartilage.
Cartilage is solid semi-rigid connective tissue, and it is tough flexible tissue which form the endoskeleton in large number of vertebrates. And the you can say on the basis of different function or different type, cartilage is classified as hyaline cartilage, fibrous cartilage, elastic cartilage, and calcified cartilage. So we can see this is a hyaline cartilage. So hyaline cartilage is mainly found at the end of long bones or anterior ends of ribs, nose, tip, larynx, and bronchial tree, fetal and embryonic skeleton. So the function of hyaline cartilage is to provide flexibility and support, and it help in reduction of friction. Next is fibrous cartilage. This is mainly found in the you can say this is the strongest and the most rigid cartilage of the body, and it is found in between the vertebral column or in intervertebral disc is made up of fibrous cartilage tissue. So it act as a cushion, in the intervertebral disc. It is help to support and aid the function of different organ of the body. Next is elastic cartilage. So it is found in epiglottis, trachea, external ear. So function, it gives support and maintain the shape of the body. Next is bone. Bone is the hardest connective tissue, and bone is mainly, you can say, the main constituent of our skeletal system. So bone show the presence of hard, solid, calcified matrix. The hardness is due to the deposition of inorganic mineral salt called as hydroxyl apatite. Yes, we can see this is the structure of a bone. Now function of bone: it is a supporting and protective tissue of vertebrates, and it also provide support. Now muscular tissue. So muscular tissue is originate from the mesodermal layer, and it makes about 40% of mammalian body weight. And muscular tissues is you can say having a contractile function, means muscular tissue has contractile property, and it also has a contractile protein also, that is actin and myosin. So these actin and myosin protein help in the muscular contraction, and further it will help in the locomotion and the movement. So we can see as the cell contain plasma membrane, so the outer membrane of muscular tissue is known as sarcolemma, and the cytoplasm of muscle fiber is known as sarcoplasm. And these muscular tissues has a long fibril protein thread known as myofibril. Next, function: it brings about the movement of body parts and locomotion of organism. Many muscles support bones and other structure. Facial expression and gesture also depend on the muscles. Muscles are responsible for heartbeat, for flow of blood through the vessels, and for passage of food. Muscles are required for talking, food, passing urine, feces, mating, delivering a baby. So type of muscles tissue: there are striated muscles, non-striated muscles, and cardiac muscles. So striated muscles, they are seen to be attached with the bones. So they are mainly under the control of animal whales. So next, smooth muscles are present on the smooth organs like stomach, intestine, and reproductive and urinary system. They are involuntary in nature. And next function of this muscles are smooth muscles are: they are involuntary in nature. They undergo prolonged but slow contraction and relaxation. The frequency and the intensity of contraction varies. They are responsible for peristaltic movement, which help in the passage of food in the digestive tract. Next is cardiac muscles. So these involuntary muscles are found in the wall of heart in myocardium. It also occur in pulmonary veins and superior vena cava. The unique ability of heart is to generate its own wave of contraction, means cardiac muscles have its own wave of contraction mechanism, and they regularly contract and relax. And the contraction of cardiac muscles is initiated by a particular point present in the heart known as pacemaker, and such type of heart is known as myogenic. Next is nervous tissue. Nervous tissue arises from ectoderm of embryo, and nervous tissue is the, you can say, it is the quickest mean of communication within the body. And these nervous tissues are having a unique property of generating and conducting of nerve impulse, means they have two main basic property, that is excitability and conductivity. Excitability is the excitation of excitation by the external stimulus or external change, and conductivity is the carry a wave of electric impulse from dendron to the axon. Then neuron. So neuron is covered by a neurolemma, and it is made up of two distinct regions, cytone and cytoplasmic extension. Cytone next cytone, and we can see axon. Axon is a single longest cytoplasmic process, and axon contain a liquid known as exoplasm, and it also contain a number of mitochondria, RER or neurofibrils. And axon, throughout the length of axon, there are Schwann cells are present, and Schwann cells release or secrete a lipid covering known as the insulated myelin sheath. So if myelin sheath is present, then it is known as myelinated neuron, and if myelin sheath is absent, then it is known as non-myelinated. And the gap between the two neurons is known as synapse. Synapse is the functional gap, and in this gap neurotransmitter is released so that the message can be transferred from one neuron to the next neuron. Thank you.